portfolio calculator up. New features I'm adding to this. I'm excited about these new features. Help us filter out trading systems. I want to show you this. This is through September the 21st, Thursday. The market is still open here on Friday, and so it takes a while to update these, and additionally much longer to add new features. The new features I added recently are Don't Trade on CPI, which doesn't affect the portfolio much. We have Don't Trade on FOMC minutes, Don't Trade on FOMC, and that does affect the portfolio. And this is the two new features that I'm most excited about. I've updated this. There was some new strategies that were added that were incorrect with this filter, and there were some then I wanted to add trend and counter trend. Counter trend also includes mean reversion. So I have trend strategies and counter trend strategies with mean reversion. And so let's look at this. By default, these should be 1 and this should be 0. And so here is the portfolio calculator. We talked about this in yesterday's video and how we stopped on a 25K drawdown. It went down as low as 38, it's bounced back to 32, and it's around break even today. The strategies are around break even today, back and forth. And so you get this setup right here with this worst case drawdown. And what can we do? What is the real problem with this? We've done this before in the past. Don't trade without market internals. And so if you set this to 1, it zeroes out all the strategies that don't use market internals in the stock indexes. And so you reduce your drawdown a little bit from 38 to 31. You can see it was much lower. And then it took this spike down. But what else is really struggling? The counter trend strategies. So if you just look at if you take out the counter trend strategies and you take out the strategies that don't use market internals, you have 11 market internal strategies. You have 3 on the S&P, 8 on the Nasdaq, and you improve your drawdown curve. It still made a worst case drawdown, but just slightly. And so I really like this setup though, because it's similar to the one we talked about earlier this week. This is a 14 strategy portfolio for the stock indexes, picking from the stock indexes mainly, and taking trend strategies in the Nasdaq. 14 trend strategies in the Nasdaq, and yeah, so just 14 trend strategies in the Nasdaq is what this uses, and some were in the stock index 34, some are not. And so I like the approach of trend strategies in the Nasdaq. I want to reset this to default and look at the difference between the S&Ps and the Nasdaq. And so if we just look at the S&P, which means you zero out the Nasdaq, and you could zero out these, but they're not selected since they're not in this portfolio. So you're just zeroing out the Nasdaq, and you can see it's only an $8,000 out of $23,000 drawdown. And so S&Ps are not doing too bad. What happens if we look at the difference between S&P trend and counter trend? So if you just look at the trend strategies on the S&P, you're near an equity peak. And so you're only $2,000 away. It's kind of a lower frequency. There's only 3 strategies on this. So you could maybe potentially add more trend strategies on the S&P. One of the biases that we've had in our portfolio is to have more counter trend on the ES and more trend on the Nasdaq. So what if we test the trend and the counter trend on the Nasdaq versus the counter trend and the trend on these two? And so we're weighted more towards this on this side, but we could be weighted more towards this or trend strategies in general. Now let's look at the Nasdaq. Let's reset this. Also, we didn't look at the difference between the market internals. You can look at the market internal, trend based. All the trend based strategies in the S&P are with market internals. Let's look at the counter trend strategies with market internals. And so 28.5 over $9,000 drawdown. So this is what that looks like. Then there's so many different ways you can break it down. Now let's reset it back to the default. These are the settings for the default, and let's look at the Nasdaq by zeroing out the S&P. And so if we look at the Nasdaq only, it's in a 26 out of 30K drawdown, and that is some of the issues we're having are in the Nasdaq. And let's look at the difference between the trend and counter trend. If you go zero, if you look at the trend strategies, they're not doing too bad. Let's look at the trend strategies with market internals. There's 15 without, and then it cuts that in half to about 8. So 13,000 out of $19,000 drawdown. It's not doing terrible. If you just trade the trend Nasdaq strategies, that's what it looks like in the drawdown curve. I look at the drawdown curve more than the equity curve. Now let's look at the counter trend strategies on the Nasdaq. And you can see, the counter trend strategies on the Nasdaq are not that great with market internals. Let's take out this market internals filter. So it uses with and without market internal. Let's see, what was that? This includes one strategy. It's only one strategy. If you look at Nasdaq counter trend strategies that use market internals, there's only one in the stock index portfolio and 2 without. So that's kind of a weakness, is not having more counter trend strategies. So I've added some counter trend strategies and I'm looking at those. And so the point of all this is I like diversity because I don't like to put market internals in every strategy, but potentially looking to improve some of these strategies with market internals that are struggling. And so look at adding counter trend strategies or improving counter trend strategies in the Nasdaq. But as of today, if we were starting Q4 as of today, this is what I would be turning on and trading right now. It would be the trend strategies with only with market internals. Trade only with market internals if this is one. And your risk would be $7,000 risk to worst case drawdown, trading only 11 strategies. And this is what we'd be trading. And so that's what I would be trading today, because it's all the stock index 34 strategies, 3 S&P, 8 strategies, trading trend strategies with market internals. And so I like the setup, but we have another week before Q4, so I'm going to continue to do research and look at some potential additional setups so that we're not making wide sweeping changes. We don't want to increase our risk either. So that is the update I wanted to share with you today on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2020.
Hey, David Bean here. Welcome to Capstone Trading Systems YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to join our community of algorithmic traders. We are real money traders. We share our winning streaks, we share our losing streaks, as well as market updates, strategies, and coding tips.